Last time on the Diaries of Netovicius the Vampire.
My name is Simon. I don't know if there's like a formal way of doing this, but I'm one of you. I've been really excited to meet you as I've heard a lot about you from Harry mostly. God, there's so much I have to go over, but first things first.
The antenna on the young man's backpack gave a slow buzz as it retracted.
Don't worry about Harry. Worry. We just need to work our stuff out. Kind of had it coming.
I turned then to look at my rabbit and saw only a blank tile with the letters Aga still on it. And just as the bus started moving, I saw it. My blue bunny. In the darkness of the bus, within the darkness of the tunnel, I did the only thing I had control over. I made myself as young as possible, knowing that if they were to check the security cameras, they would see an old man leave the museum. I turned my back to the bus driver at the back door as we emerged from the tunnel into the light, after stopping the hiss of the bus lowering itself to accommodate my presumptive age reminded me of the sound vampires made in movies when someone opens a curtain. I walked to a wall and waited for the bus to depart, and then turned to see where I was. It was a busy street with many college students and restaurants. I looked back to the tunnel and considered walking through it to rejoin where my bunny was, but something in the bunny's expression stayed with me and told me that it would be okay. It was a familiar gaze. If it wanted, it would go through the tunnel to join me. Otherwise, it would climb the hill. It would seem undetected by the way the man at the bus stop did not see it. For now, I needed to distance myself from whatever chaos had been manifest inside those gallery walls. A few blocks up was the university bookstore and gift shop. I went inside and purchased a brown-colored t-shirt with the name of the college on it and a red hoodie which had brown and the date of its founding, 1764, on it. I briefly thought about where I was that year. I was in France, I think. I remember there were tales of a beast larger than a wolf terrorizing villages not far north of where I was in Montpellier. I did not investigate, as you will not be surprised, but there were many theories, including from some vampires, that this was one of us. I changed in the bookstore bathroom, buried my shirt in the garbage, and walked back out. A police car came down the street with its sirens blaring. It turned into the tunnel, then another. Otherwise, everything was pretty calm, a busy street for its size, but a nice day to be a college student in Providence. I tried to play the part. What had happened? I needed a place to think. I walked up a side street and found a bit of campus with some bench and sat there. This young man, Simon Drake. The name was not familiar. He was a vampire. Harry was his mentor. The magic that had happened without any kind of sense of either me or Harry doing it. Did I do it unconsciously, or was it being done through me or Harry? Or was it the Simon guy, although he plainly was surprised by some of the effects? His backpack had some kind of transmitter, which of course had to be it, but why was my art magic being manifest, but Harry seemed to be catatonic? They could have taken me away as well, but they did not. He expressed he wanted to get to know me. He gave me his email. Harry had done him wrong. Harry had also surprised me with the bunny, which, contrary to all the other art which ceased its animation when they left, was still in action somehow. Still alive. Would it still be when I see it again? Was that the last time that I would see it? It hurt my heart. Would I return to the mouth of the tunnel to find a blue bunny graffito on the sidewalk? Like a sad crime scene chalk outline. I would wash it away with my tears in the rain. A few young people looked at me a little longingly as they passed by. I wondered if it was because my clothing was a little too new, but then remembered that I probably reminded them of Timothée Chalamet like per usual, which was never a great way to not stand out. I put my hood on, took out the card with the email on it. It was a series of random letters and numbers. I attempted to memorize it. AZ8TQ99RI at. All zealots eat theirs quietly, 99 Rhode Island. The 8 would be for 8. We'd have to remember that 8 is infinite. Simon Drake's vampire, therefore immortal, if I am to believe him. He told me Harry had told him about me. He would only have done this after he had become a vampire, I think, maybe. As far as I knew, Harry had long abandoned preying on people, especially innocent-seeming people like this young man, so had he taken a step backward, made no sense with the kindness of surprising me with his bunny. If I am not mistaken, he was apologizing. For a moment I was considering having a conversation about it all with him, about what happened, about Agatha, and then he could speak no more. He had been this young man's mentor. Did he mean before or after he had somehow bitten him? Why had he bitten him? Maybe because he was an enemy, but that did not make sense. I was confused. If Agatha was here, she would not be asking all these questions. She would be putting in a plan on how to rescue Harry, but she was formidable and I am just a failed artist. I can't even use my magic without someone or something else pushing me to use it. Perhaps the bunny was the key. My magic had always been a secret shame to me, not only because I could not control it, but because when I did manifest it, I was typically so out of control that bad things happened. I lost my home. I lost contact with Agatha. We lost Agatha. It wasn't all my fault, but still. I pondered why the bunny had somehow stayed alive. My magic was unpredictable. The common denominator was that I had created the bunny and the other art in the museum was created by other artists long dead. I think. When my magic was no longer active, presumably by whatever technology was in the Simon guy's backpack, then the art resumed its static form. But the bunny got away. Like my dragons once upon a time, they thrived simply on my being alive nearby, perhaps. But I had destroyed my dragons, and the art of the bunny, it had been burned in a fire at my monastery with the others, buried in hundreds of years of soot and dirt, and found by someone, perhaps Harry, who had brought it here. I was not asking the right questions. What was the purpose of the bunny? It was attached to a message to Agatha. "Come find me," it said. That is when I knew that the bunny would be searching for me. I did not need to find it. I simply need to think about where it would look for me. Where did I want to go? Where did I feel the most at peace? But what of Harry? What would Agatha do? She would contact the collective. The collective, Harry said it was still going. I was somewhat surprised, honestly. They had been rudderless after Agatha died, fractured even. They made me feel guilty for not contributing to remain together. Some cast blame. Things were said that could not be unsaid. But the collective did not operate on traditional communication. Harry would have been my best point of contact. Unfortunately, I would have to go at it alone for now. So first my bunny, then we shall see about this Simon guy. The sky was overcast and the day was growing darker. I made my way back through the college hill and cautiously down to a park where a little sloping path led me back closer to the museum. I found the big white Baptist church and inspected its lawn for signs of my bunny. Across the way near the tunnel in the museum were several police cars and a fire engine. A small group of people looked like museum employees were gathered together. I did not dawdle and took some distance, crossing the street to find some kind of building with a gallery and art club. Is that where the bunny would think to find me? I typically did not like gathering of artists, but perhaps it would think to come this way. Then I remembered. The bunny would know that I like bunnies, else why would it have been created? There were more bunnies further away from here, eastward. I climbed back up, turning down a street called Benefit, feeling a sudden rush like I was going to meet someone I was in love with. I climbed the street called Hope. At last I saw a small park adjoining a cute little brick observatory. There was a brown bunny that scampered under a bench into a little slope alongside the building. As I approached, a man, very long white beard, looking like a wizard, came out the front door and lit cigarette, nodding casually at me. I opened my mouth and nothing came out, but he took it as greeting enough. I sat by the observatory and observed the bunny, who had taken some distance but was frozen in place, as they do. There is probably reason that I have not known a vampire who transforms into a rabbit. Their instincts are too fragile. They seem to know only two responses in the face of an obstacle, flight or freeze, two modes, but when they are calm, they do seem truly at peace, lost in a reverie, forgetting that there is a difference between themselves and the world. Perhaps that is where I try to go when I am making art. Sitting, hugging my knees very still and staring at the rabbit seemed to calm it somehow. Perhaps I can control rabbits, but why can I not control magic with my art? In the early 1900s, I went to a psychotherapist, a colleague of Freud's outside Vienna, but because I could not tell him the whole truth, I found his questions to irritate me. He only wanted to know about my dreams, but there was a period there where I did not have dreams, and he did not believe me. He wanted to hypnotize me, and I declined. Later that day, I ran into a woman who thought she knew me, and I had a bit of a love affair. The last real one, I think, as I recall. I drew drawings of her, and she was so complimentary, I started to think that maybe my problem was just I needed to believe in myself a little more. Just one day at a time, a little bit more, so that is what I have done. I have let go of my need for magic, but I felt better about myself until now. Now I realized. I was feeling like a bad vampire. The wizard-looking man had rounded the corner for a second and startled the rabbit, who ran off. He put his hand up as if to apologize to me and turned and walked back, presumably into his building. I liked our nonverbal communication. Perhaps I would come here again someday. I walked down into this neighborhood. Along the way, I stopped several times to observe some more rabbits, bigger ones and smaller ones, babies more or less. The wind was picking up, some faint rain clouds hovered above. Was I going too far? Should I have instead gone looking for it? What good were my instincts anyway? I reached a path named Blackstone and found a bench. In the memory of Honey, it said. I thought about someone dedicating a bench not to someone named Honey, but to a world devoid of it. I was exhausted. I kicked my feet up and laid my head on the bench. The branches overhead had blooms that shivered with the augmenting wind. I closed my eyes and thought about the magic in the gallery. The little night it made me think of my dragons. I remembered them in my dream. I had not taken care of them. I had created them and then had destroyed them. That was the first time, though not the last, that my magic had gotten out of control. The other time was when I was out of reach. There where I had created worlds I was afraid to even think of, worlds far more beautiful but also horrible. Baba Yaginya. I remembered how I'd summoned her presence in my art. That was what I was called to do, perhaps by my benefactor who believed in me so much, but also by something bigger. Close the circle, it would say, the snake biting its tail. As I closed my eyes, I saw it appear in the darkness. It hovered in a blue light. Then it was gone. I felt a presence by me. I opened my eyes, and there she was. My blue bunny.